The first expectation is that clients will hand over everything on time. But the reality is, honestly, I spend a lot of time following up on getting stuff from my clients. Oftentimes it'll take multiple reminders, maybe an email, a phone call, or a text. And you're kind of stuck mid-project waiting on maybe it's a bank login or a receipt or an answer to a question. And I do feel like clients usually start out pretty enthusiastic. They're excited to hire you and they want to get their books all organized. But then over time, they need to focus on other parts of their business. And a solution to this could just be like a weekly automated reminder. Maybe you do an email or a checklist. Something so that you know you reminded them, but then you can also move on to a different task. Number 2 expectation is that your schedule will be super flexible. And my reality is, yes, it's flexible, but my day really gets hijacked a lot. Oh my gosh, I feel like my kids never are in school these days. Especially now because they go to 2 different schools, so they don't have the same days off. So I feel like every week I have at least 1 or 2 days where one of my kids is home with me. And there's always just a lot of things that come up. So a friend wants to go get coffee with you, or you want to help out with something or volunteer at the school. And those are all really good things. And I really do like that about being a bookkeeper, that it is flexible. But there also comes a time where you have to really protect your work hours. And you have to say no to some things. For me, I just try to keep as organized as possible. So at the beginning of the week, I will look at my week ahead and see what commitments I have outside of work. And then I block off my work times and really try to stick to those. Number 3 expectation is that QuickBooks Online will be reliable. The reality is that sometimes it goes down right when you need it. And truly, this hasn't been that big of an issue for me, but occasionally it is kind of annoying if you have a list of tasks that you wanted to do in there and then it goes down. Things that help me with this are if you go into a Facebook group, often there's some solidarity there. People will be like, oh no, QuickBooks is down, or they will provide updates when it's back up, or maybe someone contacted Intuit to get an update. And kind of the solution I have for this is just to have backup items that you can do outside of QBO. So of course that could be admin tasks for your own business. So you can make SOPs, you can do follow-ups, you can do emailing, or maybe your client has a spreadsheet that you've been wanting to tweak and organize, and this is a good time to do it. Number 4 expectation is that you will feel totally legit once you have a couple clients. The reality is that you can feel awkward and you can feel imposter syndrome at many parts of your business. And hopefully you can kind of frame that as a good thing, because that means your business is growing. You're getting outside of your comfort zone. But I know when you're starting out, you're like, oh, I got my LLC. I'm going to feel official. Oh, I got this certification. I'm going to feel really qualified. But there are always ups and downs. And even now, I'm not constantly getting new clients because I only have so much time and I only want a certain number of clients. So I'm not doing those interviews, those discovery calls, those marketing things that often. So I still definitely get nervous if I have to do some kind of interview situation. And I've mentioned this before, but being prepared is the thing that helps me the most. So if I'm scheduled to talk to someone about bookkeeping, I really prepare. So I kind of script out what I'm going to say a little bit in note form. I practice it out loud. I think about what questions they're going to ask me. I think about what questions I want to ask. And this really does help ease my mind. Number 5, expectation that clients will be organized. Okay, so this one's about 50-50 for me for my clients. Some are super organized and then some have no idea what's going on. And the hard thing about the disorganized ones is that they have a lot going on. You know, they're like, I'm using Stripe, I'm using Venmo, I'm using PayPal. So they've got all these platforms. Maybe they don't have any logins because you got to log into some of them as the bookkeeper to see what's going on in there. And so sometimes you kind of end up playing a detective because you're trying to discover what all this stuff is. And one of my strengths is organizing. So sometimes that is fun for me, or I'm a good fit for that client if I can help them like organize all of their chaos. One tip I have for this is try to get as much information before you take them on as a client. Have a detailed intake form that requires all the logins to all of their platforms. Make sure you know exactly where their income is coming from and how you can track it. Hopefully that will help you avoid some frustration in the long run. Number 6, expectation is that your business will grow steadily. And the reality is actually that sometimes it's feast or famine. Maybe 1 month it's like, oh, there's 3 leads. Everyone needs a bookkeeper. And then maybe for the next 3 months, you really just hear crickets. Like there's nothing really happening in your marketing funnels. So sometimes this does mess with my mindset. I'm kind of like, oh, should I change something? You're like, do I need to change my niche? Do I need to adjust my prices? But honestly, just remember, growth is rarely linear. As hard as it is, sometimes I really try to zoom out and think about the big picture. And so if you have the historical data to look back, oh, the last 5 years, I have been growing every single year and it's going to be okay. And that can be hard if you're just starting out and you're not seeing those clients come in as fast as you would like. But I really and truly believe if you are putting in the work, if you are going to the networking meetings, if you have an online presence, if you're talking to CPAs, if you're posting about your bookkeeping business, if you're doing all the right things, clients will come. It really does just take some time. You can also think about the seasonality of bookkeeping. So because we file taxes in April, there's certain times that people are looking for bookkeeping clients more, usually at the end of the year and like the beginning. So like November, people are like, oh, I should probably get things in order through maybe like February. Number 7, expectation is that a cleanup will just take the weekend. And the reality is that, oh, dang it, you're still working on it 3 weeks later. Cleanups almost always take longer than I expect. So I would go with the theory, always under promise and over deliver. So say if you think it'll take a week, say you think it'll take 2 weeks. That's the deadline that you give your client. So twice as long as you actually think. And then if you get it done early, they'll be super happy. And a tip for this is audit before you quote a cleanup. And this is not my strong suit, so I would recommend Veronica Wassop has a colossal cleanup class, and I think even a free checklist. Her business name is 5-Minute Bookkeeping, and I'll leave her class linked in the description box. And I think Margie from Acadian also has a cleanup class that is very well respected. So those are both paid classes you can look into if you want to specialize more in cleanup or feel more confident and better at cleanups. Number 8, expectation is that you will batch your work like a pro. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of batching. I feel like that's a really good productivity tip, just like doing one task all at one time versus kind of dividing your efforts. But the reality is sometimes I do get distracted. So I'm batching, maybe scrolling reels, or I'm watching clean desk videos on YouTube. And I always mean to be productive, but sometimes time does tend to get away from me. And there are some solutions to this. Sometimes, use the Pomodoro method or put your phone in another room. But sometimes we do just need to do mindless things. So maybe it's time to just get up from your desk, do something else for a while, watch a show, and then come back, and then be productive when you're in the right mind frame for that. Number 9, expectation is that scaling will be easy. So maybe you've been bookkeeping a couple of years and you're like, okay, I think I'm ready to hire someone. I'm going to hire either an assistant or another bookkeeper to help me out. That's going to save me so much time. And then I'm really going to be able to work on scaling my business and getting more clients. The reality is that hiring does take a lot of time and effort. First of all, you have to find the right person, someone who's actually good and reliable. You have to pay them what they're worth. You have to train them, which can be a challenge even if they already know bookkeeping. You have to make sure they know your systems and how your clients work. You probably have to review what they're doing. And if you want to help yourself out in the future, you should be writing SOPs. So standard operating procedures about how you do stuff in your business, because that's going to help if you hire another person. So hiring is a skill. And if you've never done it before, there likely will be a learning curve. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but just be prepared that it is kind of a task. And I have an assistant who helps me out now, and she always tells me, record my screen while I'm doing things. Anything that I need to train someone on or show someone else how to do, she's just like, record it while you're doing it. And then that basically becomes our SOP. Expectation number 10, every client will use modern technology. No. This is not always the case. I have decided to only take on clients that will use QBO, QuickBooks Online. Either they're already using it or they're willing to switch. Maybe it's a super small business of just one person or two people and they've been using a spreadsheet. But more often, I find clients that have parts of their business that are more techie and then parts that they're just stuck in the dark ages, especially businesses that have been around a while. Like I have a client who uses QBO, but they also use a paper ledger to record deposits. As a bookkeeper, sometimes I do try to kind of push the envelope and be like, oh, let's adapt this part of your process. And there's this other digital solution that we can use that I think will be more efficient, and then I can do things off-site. But really there is kind of a balance to it. So sometimes people either don't want to pay for a digital option, or the people working in the office aren't really willing to do it a new way. Maybe they don't see the value in it. So there are some parts of my process that maybe another new bookkeeper coming in would be like, oh, why haven't you tweaked this part? And the answer is sometimes it's not really worth it for the particular business. Or really one of my clients I'm thinking of right now, I moved a bunch of stuff digitally and then it really didn't work out. Like we didn't keep up on the digital process as well as I think it was for managing receipts. So I had this whole digital process where they could, take a picture and email it to me in QuickBooks. And then I had a Google Drive where I'd save different stuff. But honestly, it ended up being easier just for them to keep their receipts on site and just organize the paper copies. So in summary, basically use technology when it makes sense for the business. Number 11, expectation is that you'll just do the books. That will be your one job. You're the bookkeeper, right? You're just going to be in QBO. doing the books. But in reality, especially in small, tiny businesses, you do so much more than that. You are tech support. You are helping them organize things. You can even be emotional support. You are maybe a teacher. You're explaining these different reports in QuickBooks and what they can do to be more profitable. You're an idea person if they don't know how to organize their passwords in a password organizer. You're like, oh, I use this one. Sometimes you're just kind of like a safe space for them to talk about their money and their finances and their worries about their business. And I actually really do like this part of the job. I find it rewarding, especially when you feel like you're really helping someone out. I had a client who was running a speech pathology business, and she was really smart, really competent. We were kind of like peers. We were similar ages, and her business was growing like crazy. She was opening a second location while I was with her, and I really just feel like her and I worked together to streamline a lot of her processes. And there was growing pains within her business, and we had to hire a new person. But with the right client that you work well with, that can be really fun and really exciting. Let me know in the comments what other expectations versus realities you have as a bookkeeper. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. Definitely like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel. You can also hit the join button to connect with me a little bit more.